And let's begin the exam with our first question. And question number 1 states, an organization wants to enhance the security of its data encryption process by using a method that links together blocks of plain text into a continuous chain. This method ensures that each block of plain text is dependent on the previous block, enhancing overall data integrity and security. Which encryption method is most likely being described? Is it A, symmetric key encryption? Is it B, asymmetric key encryption? Is it C, block cipher chaining? Is it D, hashing? Or is it E, stream cipher? You have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is C, block cipher chaining. Block cipher chaining, specifically cipher block chaining or CBC, is a method where each block of plain text is XOR'd with the previous ciphertext block before being encrypted. This creates dependency between blocks, enhancing data integrity and making it more difficult for attackers to decrypt the data without the entire chain. For example, imagine an organization encrypting its sensitive database records. By using block cipher chaining or CBC, each record's encryption depends on the previous one, ensuring that even if part of the data is compromised, it is not possible to easily decrypt the entire dataset without the complete chain. And now for the incorrect answers. A, symmetric key encryption. This refers to using the same key for both encryption and decryption, but does not specifically specify the method of chaining blocks together. B, asymmetric encryption. This uses a pair of keys, public and private, for encryption and decryption, but it does not inherently link blocks of data together. D, hashing. Hashing converts data into a fixed-sized string of characters, which is typically used for data integrity checks rather than encryption. And E, stream cipher. Stream ciphers encrypt data 1 bit or byte at a time, rather than in fixed-sized blocks, and it does not inherently create a chain dependency between blocks. And for the next question of our exam, question number 2. And the question states, an organization aims to improve the detection of network anomalies by implementing a technique that continuously analyzes network traffic patterns to identify deviations from the norm. This method allows the organization to detect potential security threats such as intrusions or compromised devices. Which network security method is likely being described? Is it A, signature-based detection? Is it B, anomaly-based detection? Is it C, heuristic analysis? Is it D, behavioral analysis? Or is it E, whitelisting? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is B, anomaly-based detection. Anomaly-based detection involves continuously monitoring network traffic and comparing it to a baseline of normal activity. When traffic deviates significantly from this baseline, it is flagged as a potential security threat. This method is effective for detecting unknown or novel attacks that do not match predefined signatures. For example, imagine an organization monitoring its network for unusual traffic patterns. By using anomaly-based detection, it can identify sudden spikes in traffic or unusual login attempts, which might indicate a potential intrusion or a compromised device. This proactive approach helps in detecting and mitigating threats early. And now for the incorrect answers. A, signature-based detection. This method relies on predefined signatures or known threats and is not effective against new or unknown anomalies. C, heuristic analysis. Heuristic analysis uses algorithms to identify suspicious behavior, but is most focused on heuristic rules rather than deviations from a normal baseline. D, behavioral analysis. While similar, behavioral analysis often focuses more on user behavior rather than network traffic patterns. And E, whitelisting. Whitelisting restricts network access to only approved devices or applications, which is more about access control than detecting anomalies in network traffic. And for the next question of our exam, question number 3. And the question states, an organization wants to secure its communication channels by using a method that ensures the data is divided into separate blocks and each block is processed independently. This method enhances parallel processing capabilities and reduces latency. Which encryption method is most likely being described? Is it A, symmetric key encryption? Is it B, asymmetric key encryption? Is it C, block cipher in electronic codebook ECB mode? Is it D, hashing? Or is it E, stream cipher? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is C, Block cipher in electronic codebook ECB mode. Block cipher in electronic codebook ECB mode is a method where each block of plaintext is encrypted separately and independently. This allows for parallel processing of blocks, which can enhance performance and reduce latency, but it does not provide strong security as identical plaintext blocks produce identical ciphertext blocks. For example, imagine an organization encrypting large amounts of data where performance is a critical factor. By using block cipher in ECB mode, each block of data can be encrypted simultaneously, reducing the overall time required for encryption. However, this method should only be used with caution due to its security weakness. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Symmetric key encryption. This refers to using the same key for both encryption and decryption, but does not specify the block mode. B. Asymmetric key encryption. This uses a pair of keys, public and private, for encryption and decryption, but does not specify the block mode. D. Hashing. Hashing converts data into a fixed size string of characters, typically used for data integrity checks rather than encryption. And E. Stream cipher. Stream ciphers encrypt data one bit or byte at a time rather than in fixed size blocks and do not allow for parallel processing of blocks. And for the next question for our exam, question number 4. And the question states, an organization is looking to secure its communications by implementing an encryption method that not only ensures confidentiality, but also provides non-repudiation and integrity of messages. This method involves both the sender and recipient having their own key pairs, and messages are encrypted using a combination of the sender's private key and the recipient's public key. Which encryption method is most likely being described? Is it A. Symmetric key encryption? Is it B. Hashing? Is it C. Hybrid encryption? Is it D. Public key infrastructure? Or is it E. Block cipher chaining? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is D. Public key infrastructure, or PKI. Public key infrastructure, or PKI, is a comprehensive system that uses a combination of public key encryption and digital certificates to provide confidentiality, integrity, authentication, and non-repudiation. By encrypting a message with the sender's private key for signing and the recipient's public key for confidentiality, PKI ensures that only the intended recipient can decrypt the messages and that the message origin and integrity are verifiable. Imagine an organization wanting to end a confidential and authenticated message to a partner. The sender uses the private key to sign the message, providing non-repudiation, and encrypts it with the recipient's public key, ensuring that only the recipient can decrypt it. The recipient, upon receiving the message, uses the private key to decrypt and the sender's public key to verify the signature, ensuring both confidentiality and authenticity. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Symmetric key encryption. This method uses the same key for both encryption and decryption and does not provide non-repudiation for the use of public-private key pairs. B. Hashing. Hashing ensures the data integrity by producing a fixed-sized string, but does not provide encryption or non-repudiation. C. Hybrid encryption. Whilst hybrid encryption uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric encryption, it does not specifically provide a system for managing keys and certificates like PKI. And E. Block cipher chaining. This refers to methods like CBC for encrypting blocks of data, but does not address the use of public/private key pairs for non-repudiation and integrity. And for the next question for exam, question number 5. And the question states, an organization aims to enhance the security of its data encryption process by employing a method that ensures each bit of plaintext influences the encryption of the subsequent bits. This method provides high level of security by mixing the data thoroughly and making it difficult for attackers to find patterns. Which encryption method is most likely being described? Is it A. Symmetric key encryption? Is it B. Asymmetric key encryption? Is it C. Cipher feedback or CFB mode? Is it D. Hashing? Or is it E. Block cipher chaining? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is C. Cipher feedback or CFB mode. Cipher feedback or CFB mode is a method where each bit of plaintext influences the encryption of the subsequent bits. This method encrypts the plaintext in small increments, typically 1 byte at a time, making it highly secure by ensuring that changes in the plaintext propagate throughout the encryption process. For example, imagine an organization encrypting a continuous stream of data, such as a live video or audio. By using CFB mode, Each bit of data is encrypted in a way that depends on the previous bits, making it very difficult for attackers to decipher the data, even if they manage to intercept part of the stream. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Symmetric key encryption. This refers to using the same key for both encryption and decryption, but does not specify the mode of operation. B. Asymmetric key encryption. This uses a pair of keys, public and private, for encryption and decryption, but it does not inherently link the encryption of bits together. D. Hashing. Hashing converts data into a fixed-sized string of characters, which is typically used for data integrity checks, rather than encryption. And E. Block cipher chaining. This typically refers to methods like CBC, where blocks of data are linked, but it does not specifically describe the bit-level feedback provided by CFB mode. And for the next question of our exam, question number 6. And the question states, an organization aims to strengthen its security framework by implementing a system that ensures robust control over user and device access to network resources. This system will involve verifying user identities, determining their access levels, and keeping track of their activities within the network. Which security framework is most likely being described? Is it a single sign-on or SSO? Is it B. Public Key Infrastructure or PKI? Is it C. Authentication, Authorization and Accounting or AAA? Is it D. Multi-Factor Authentication or MFA? Or is it E. Role-Based Access Control or RBAC? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is C. Authentication, Authorization and Accounting or AAA. Authentication, Authorization and Accounting, or AAA, is a security framework used to manage user and device access to network resources. It involves 3 key functions: verifying identities or authentication, granting permissions or authorization, and tracking user usage and activities or accounting. This comprehensive approach ensures that only authorized users and devices can access specific resources and that all activities are monitored and recorded. For example, imagine an organization deploying a secure network where employees need to access different resources based on their roles. Using the AAA framework, the organization first verifies the identity of employees through authentication. Next, it determines what resource each employee can access based on their role throughout authorization. Finally, it keeps logs of each employee activities on the network for auditing purposes through accounting. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Single sign-on or SSO. SSO allows users to log in once and gain access to multiple systems without re-entering credentials, but it does not encompass the full range of functions provided by AAA. B. Public Key Infrastructure or PKI. PKI manages digital certificates and keys for encryption and authentication, but does not cover authorization and accounting aspects. D. Multi-factor authentication or MFA. MFA strengthens authentication by requiring multiple forms of verification, but it does not include authorization and accounting functions. And E. Role-based access control or RBAC. RBAC restricts access based on user roles, but does not encompass authentication and accounting as comprehensively as the AAA framework. And for the next question of our exam, question number 7. And the question states, an organization has been targeted by sophisticated cyber attacks that leverage multiple communication channels to deliver malware and gain unauthorized access to sensitive data. These attacks often begin with a phishing email containing a malicious link, which then directs the recipient to download a compromised file. Additionally, attackers have used instant messaging and SMS to deliver similar links and files, and some attacks have been incorporated social engineering via voice calls and gain further access. To effectively mitigate these complex threats, the organization needs to understand and address the primary threat vectors and attack surfaces involved. Which type of threat vector is most likely being described in these scenarios? Is it A. Spear phishing? Is it B. Multi-vector attack? Is it C. File-based attack? Is it D. Social engineering? Or is it E. Message-based attack? You now have 5 seconds. And the correct answer is B. Multi-vector attack. A multi-vector attack involves the use of multiple types of threat vectors and attack surfaces simultaneously or in a coordinated manner to compromise a target. These sophisticated attacks might combine phishing emails, instant messaging or SMS, and even social engineering via voice calls to maximize their effectiveness and bypass security measures. Understanding and defending against such multifaceted threats requires a comprehensive security strategy that addresses each vector. For example, consider an organization that receives a phishing email containing a link to a malicious website. An employee who clicks the links is directed to download a compromised file that installs malware on their device. Concurrently, the same organization receives instant messages and SMS text with similar links, further spreading the attack. Additionally, the attackers make voice calls to key employees, posing as IT support to gain more access. By recognizing these as multi-vector attack, the organization can implement layered security measures such as email filtering, real-life IM and SMS monitoring, and training employees on recognizing social engineering tactics. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Spear phishing. Spear phishing is a targeted phishing attack focused on specific individuals, but does not necessarily involve multiple vectors. C. File-based attack. This involves the delivery of malicious files, which is part of the threat, but does not cover the broader use of multiple vectors. D. Social engineering. Social engineering involves manipulating individuals to divulge confidential information, but does not account for the technical delivery mechanism described. And E. Message-based attack. While a message-based attack covers some of the vector used, it does not encompass the broader strategy of using multiple vectors and social engineering. And for the next question for exam, question number 8. And the question states, an organization has identified that employees frequently connect to unsecure public Wi-Fi networks whilst traveling, exposing sensitive corporate data to potential interception by malicious actors. To mitigate this risk, the organization is considering implementing a comprehensive solution that not only encrypts data transmission, but also ensures endpoint security and continuous monitoring of traffic patterns for anomalies. This solution should integrate seamlessly with the organization's existing security infrastructure to provide robust protection against a wide range of threats. Which technology suite is more likely being described? Is it A. Intrusion Prevention System, or IPS? Is it B. Secure Web Gateway, or SWG? Is it C. Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA? Is it D. Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR? Or is it E. Virtual Private Network, or VPN, with Endpoint Security Integration? And now 5 seconds. And the correct answer is E. Virtual Private Network, or VPN, with Endpoint Security Integration. A comprehensive solution that combines a virtual private network, or VPN, with endpoint security integration ensures encrypted data transmission, secure endpoints, and continuous monitoring for anomalies. This integrated approach provides robust protection against various threats, securing data over unsecure networks and maintaining the integrity of endpoint devices. For example, imagine employees of an organization frequently working from cafes or airports using public Wi-Fi. By using a VPN with integrated endpoint security, all their internet traffic is encrypted, and their devices are continuously monitored and protected against malware, ensuring comprehensive security even when connected to unsecure networks. And now for the incorrect answers. A. Intrusion Prevention Systems, or IPS. An IPS detects and prevents malicious activities on the network, but does not provide encryption for data transmission or endpoint security. B. Secure Web Gateway, or SWG. An SWG filters unwanted software or malware from user-initialized web internet traffic, but does not offer full encryption and endpoint security integration. C. Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA. ZTNA ensures secure access to applications, but may not include comprehensive endpoint security and encryption for all network traffic. And D. Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR. EDR focuses on detecting and responding to threats at the endpoint level, but does not encrypt data transmissions across networks. And for the next question for exam, question number 9. And the question states, an organization has deployed a web application that handles sensitive customer data. The cybersecurity team is concerned about potential attacks that could exploit vulnerabilities in the application's input fields to execute unauthorized commands or access restricted areas of the server. They need to implement a security measure that can mitigate such threats by validating and sanitizing all input data. Which type of attack is most likely being described, and what is the best mitigation strategy? Is it A, buffer overflow, input validation and bounds checking? Is it B, SQL injection, prepared statements and parameterized queries? Is it C, directory traversal, proper access controls and input sanitization? D, cross-site scripting or XSS, content security policy, CSP and output encoding? Or is it E, privilege escalation, principle of least privilege and patch management? In our 5 seconds. And the correct answer is B, SQL injection, prepared statements and parameterized queries. SQL injection involves injecting malicious SQL code through input fields to manipulate the database. Prepared statements and parameterized queries ensure that user input is treated as data rather than executable code, effectively preventing SQL injection attacks. For example, imagine an organization's web application that includes login form. If the input fields are not properly sanitized, an attacker could input SQL commands to bypass authentication. By using prepared statements and parameterized queries, the application treats user input as data, preventing the attacker from executing unauthorized SQL commands. And now for the incorrect answers. A, buffer overflow, input validation and bounds checking. Whilst this mitigates buffer overflow attacks, it doesn't address the SQL injection. C, directory traversal, proper access controls and input sanitization. This is relevant for directory traversal attacks, not SQL injection. D, cross-site scripting or XSS, content security policy, CSP and output encoding. These measures prevent XSS attacks by ensuring that malicious scripts are not executed. And E, privilege escalation, principle of least privilege and patch management. These practices limit the potential damage of privilege escalation but do not prevent SQL injection attacks. And for the last question of our exam, ladies and gents, question number 10. And the question states, an organization is concerned about the security of its cryptographic systems, particularly rendering attacks that could exploit weaknesses in hash functions. One type of attack they are worried about involves finding two different inputs that produce the same hash value, which could compromise data integrity and authenticity. Which type of attack is the organization most concerned about, and what is a recommended mitigation strategy? Is it A, brute force attack, increasing key length? Is it B, downgrade attack, enforcing strong protocols? Is it C, collision attack, using cryptographic hash functions with larger output sizes? Is it D, size channel attacks, implementing physical security measures? Or is it E, man-in-the-middle attack, using strong authentication mechanisms? In our 5 seconds. And the correct answer is C, collision attack, using cryptographic hash functions with larger output sizes. A collision attack targets weaknesses in hash functions to find two different inputs that produces the same hash value. Using cryptographic hash functions with larger output sizes and proven collision resistance, such as SHA-256 instead of MD5, can help mitigate this risk. For example, consider an organization using digital signatures to verify the authenticity of software updates. If they use a hash function vulnerable to collision attacks, an attacker could create a malicious update with the same hash as a legitimate one. By switching to a more secure hash function like SHA-256, the organization can ensure that even if an attacker finds two inputs that hash to the same value with a weaker hash function, they will not succeed with a more secure hash function. And now for the incorrect answers. A, brute force attack, increasing key length. This addresses attacks that involve trying many possible keys, but does not specifically mitigate collision attacks. B, downgrade attack, enforcing strong protocols. This prevents forcing systems to use weaker protocols but does not address collision vulnerabilities. D, side channel attack, implementing physical security measures. These measures protect against attacks that exploit physical implementation flaws, not hash function collisions. And E, man-in-the-middle attack, using strong authentication mechanisms. Strong authentication helps prevent interception and tampering, but does not mitigate hash collisions. Ladies and gents, this is the end of our exam. If and only if you found this video informative, make sure to drop a sub and share this video with your friends. I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you guys next time.